Among the four sisters, she was known as the Governess. When Olga, Maria, or Anastasia wanted a favor from their parents, they sent Tatiana. She possessed a quiet authority that required no raised voice and no assertion of rank. Even as a child, she moved through the family with a natural sense of order and responsibility that the others recognized and accepted without resentment. It was simply who she was. Grand Duchess Tatiana entered the world on the 29th of May, 1897, at Peterhof. Two years younger than Olga, she formed with her the big pair, but from the beginning, their temperaments differed in clear and lasting ways. Where Olga's mind was quick, restless, and given to original turns of thought, Tatiana's intelligence was practical, steady, and oriented toward what needed to be done. Mrs. Eager, the children's Irish governess, observed how the younger sisters instinctively deferred to her. There was nothing harsh in this leadership. It was the expression of a character already formed for clarity, duty, and quiet command. Of all the daughters, she stood closest in temperament to her mother. Alexandra herself confirmed this in a letter to Nicholas, writing that of the four girls, Tatiana was the one who best grasped her personal convictions. The resemblance was not only outward. Tatiana grew tall and elegant, carrying herself with an unmistakable imperial bearing that many later remarked upon. The deeper likeness lay in an inward disposition toward discipline, reserve, and fidelity. She did not reveal her feelings as readily as Olga. What she felt, she tended to transform into action or into patient endurance. This reserve was never emptiness. From early years, Tatiana showed a marked love of spiritual reading and a habit of rigorous self-examination. On Forgiveness Sunday, in 1916, she wrote to her mother a letter that discloses the inner work she carried on, almost unseen.
My dear Mama, I only wanted to ask your forgiveness, and dear Papas, for all I have done to you, my dears, for all the worries that I caused. I pray for God to make me better. May the Lord bless the two angels, whom I love so much. Forgive me again.
The language reveals a soul that measured itself carefully before God and before those she loved most. When war came, in 1914, this same character found its fullest and most public expression. Together with her mother and Olga, she trained as a nurse and entered the operating theatre of the Palace Hospital at Tsarskoe Selo. The work was severe and unrelenting. She assisted at complicated surgeries, held instruments during amputations, and tended men whose wounds were often horrific. A professional nurse who worked beside her recorded one particularly difficult operation, in which a river of foul-smelling pus poured from a wound. The nurse herself felt the urge to vomit. Tatiana remained calm, precise, and steady. Dr. Derivenko, a demanding man who rarely offered praise, later told the daughter of Dr. Botkin that he had seldom met a surgical nurse as calm, nimble, and professional as the young Grand Duchess Tatiana. She was only 17 years old. Her own diary entries from this period are characteristically spare and factual. She wrote, "We went to the big house for 2 surgeries. Removed a bullet from one patient's head. Officer Anisimov, of the 27th Siberian Rifle Regiment, had surgery. Amputated his right foot. I assisted and held the hooks. His left leg was already amputated to the knee." There is no self-dramatization in these lines. The work itself was the expression of her nature. When Alexandra's strength began to fail, under the strain of continuous labor, Tatiana stepped forward without hesitation. She assumed the presidency of the Committee on Refugees, responsible for the resettlement and care of thousands of Russians displaced by the fighting. Every week, she presided over meetings, regulated activities, and carried the administrative weight with the same competence she showed in the wards. The morning hours that remained after service in the operating theatre were devoted to these obligations. In the afternoons, she continued the rounds of hospital visits. The same practical authority appeared again, and even more clearly, during the family's captivity. When the decision was made in Tobolsk that Nicholas and Alexandra must leave under escort, and that one of the daughters should accompany them, the sisters themselves consulted. Olga's health was still fragile, after the measles and subsequent complications. Anastasia was the youngest. So the sisters all agreed, Tatiana had to remain. She would take charge of the household, and of Alexei. The choice was not sentimental. It was recognition of the sister, who could be trusted to hold things together under pressure. Gilead recorded the moment of departure. The girls with faces swollen from crying, yet Tatiana already assuming the responsibilities that would fall to her. As the carriages prepared to leave, the practical weight of the household settled upon her shoulders, without complaint. In the letters she wrote from Tobolsk, after her parents and Maria had gone, the same character is visible. She writes of practical needs, books, sugar, the emptiness of the rooms, and of her constant prayer for those she could no longer see.
My dear, my beloved little soul, thank you immensely for the little icons and egg. I miss you terribly, my beloved ones. The rooms are so sad and empty. We spend the evenings with Nastenka downstairs, and then we all have tea. We go to bed early. Mama, my dear little soul, we are very lonesome without you, and we torment ourselves with the thoughts that we do not know how you are doing. I pray a lot for you, so that God will come to help you all, our dear angels.
The affection is deep and unmistakable, yet it is expressed through care, through attention to detail, through the steady maintenance of ordinary life in extraordinary circumstances. In Ekaterinburg, the witnesses who saw her remarked repeatedly on her bearing. One guard noted that she resembled the Tsaritsa, stern and proud in appearance, yet capable of a sudden, unexpected smile. Another guard remembered a moment when Grand Duchess Tatiana, pale as death, gave the guards a look so severe that they turned away in shame. Even in the final confinement, she remained the daughter who continued to fulfill whatever small duties remained to her. The same quiet authority that had once organized games and hospital wards now sustained her through the last and most constrained days. Tatiana left behind no large body of letters, filled with intellectual play, or with the raw cry of longing that marks some of Olga's writing. Her interior life was more guarded, more ordered, more closely bound to the fulfillment of responsibility. Those who lived beside her recognized in her a strength that did not need to announce itself. She was the sister to whom others turned when something needed to be managed. The daughter who most fully shared her mother's convictions. The nurse who could remain steady when the work was most difficult. The young woman who accepted without complaint the task of remaining behind so that others might be accompanied. Her witness is quieter than her elder sisters, yet no less complete. It is the witness of a soul formed by order, by self-examination, by service, and by an unwavering sense of what was required of her. Through the testimony of those who knew her, and through the simple consistent record of what she did day after day, we are able to see Grand Duchess Tatiana as she truly was. Not a figure of dramatic emotion or sudden spiritual outcry, but a young woman whose love expressed itself most purely through responsibility quietly accepted and carried without fail to the last. In that steady fidelity, she revealed a strength that did not need many words, yet spoke with lasting clarity.
If this work speaks to you, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and join us on our journey. Thank you for watching. See you next time.